Have you ever wondered what a 4-thread safety stitch is on the Husqvarna Viking Embroidery S600? Well, let me explain. So first off, there are two versions of this stitch. Stitch number 4 is the 4-thread safety stitch wide, and stitch number 5 is the 4-thread safety stitch narrow. Now remember, if you touch the I for information button, this will show you how to set up the machine, and I'm going to explain it with the stitch that I have done here. And it will also make sure you know what it's for. So that little I information, page 2, this stitch is for joining with a reinforced stitch and overcasting in one step. So we have done the 5-thread overlock video. Well, this is a very similar stitch, but only using 4 threads. And you can determine if the overlock stitch is going to be wide or narrow. So if you do have a little bit more lighter weight fabric, you could do the narrow version. I chose to go ahead and put the needle in the far left position for this particular sample. So I wanted you to also see which threads I have up here, because what we also have, and let's look at the back, is we have a chain stitch. Now anytime that you incorporate the chain stitch feature, like in a 5-thread or like this, the 4-thread safety stitch, that's the safety part. That's what's going to keep your fabric from actually stretching. It is going to stabilize this seam. You also notice when we use 5-thread, we often use it like the inside of a pair of jeans is where you see it on the commercial version. But here's a nice way to use only 4 of the 5 threads for getting the same or similar result. So you are setting up this machine for a needle that is in the center area of the cover stitch location where those 3 openings are near the front of your foot, and then you decide whether you're actually using needle A or needle B for the overlock stitch. Now remember, everything else is pretty much the same, and it's super easy to switch over here with the air threaded system because you can thread that chain stitch and that lower looper. Now speaking of lower looper, we do not have thread in the upper looper. So that little 2-thread converter, the part that we swing over and put into the back of the upper looper, that's what actually makes this machine think that there's thread in there. So once again, chain stitch needle, right or left serger needle, lower looper only, and chain stitch looper is involved to give you that very practical stitch. Now I'm going to go ahead and stitch this so you can see that we can start and stop off the edge of the fabric. Since it is an overlock stitch, that chain stitch will work as you go ahead and serge off the edge. And then you have that perfect stitch. Now, if you recognize this, this almost looks like the back of a flat lock stitch. And that's because we don't have any part of that extra thread showing on the back side. So this is a great stitch to just, again, reinforce anything that needs to not be stretched out of shape, kind of like having stabilizer when picking a serger stitch. I hope you'll check out all our videos that we've done on the Embroidery S600. We've got links below to some of our favorite Craftsy classes and the complete playlist of all these free tutorial videos.